Welcome to the Everything Actioncast, the official podcast of everythingaction.com.
Hello and welcome to the Everything Actioncast podcast for the week of July 31st, 2023. I'm your host, Zach.
I'm your co-host, Chris.
And we got a bunch of things to have this week, but we got to kick things off with some extremely sad news. Earlier this week, we found out that Paul Reubens passed away at age 70. He had been battling cancer privately.
Like 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, and then, I don't know, it's one of a kind, like, personality. Like Pee Wee Herman is just like you cannot replicate that. You cannot try to, like, people try to copy that. People try to replicate that. You cannot. He's a singular voice, singular person.
Yep. And it's one of those, like, comedic styles that was all his own. It was something that often imitated, but never, like, found a sound alike. Just because it's like it's a whole bunch of things that became his persona.
Yeah. Like, I would say the only thing that came close to, like, Pee-wee's Playhouse was, like, the Weird Al show, but Weird Al's already his own, like, unique, awesome personality.
Persona, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really compare them to each other. Where some other comedians are like the same kind of bro comedian. But Herman wasn't. Herman was sort of a mishmash of familiar comedical, like, clowns, like French clown designs, and then like a after school host, like friendly. Like, he was never creepy. He was never mean.
He was like sarcastic, but then he was also, like, smart, but then also kind of dumb about other things. And,
yeah.
Like, it was just such a unique mix of, like, he was childlike, but also like understood adult concepts, and, like,
he understood love.
Yeah.
But he understood, like, sort of, like, he knew if he was, like, pranking someone, he knew, like, what he was up to. It wasn't just, like, a childlike innocence. Like, I didn't know that would happen. Like, it was very calculated in making him seem like he was, like, the innocent one, even though he's the one who, like, instigates some things.
Mm-hmm.
Though the movie was, like, try to, like, see the people in his neighborhood who just, like, are tired of his shit or are just, like, bullies.
Well, the one Francis, is the only person that's tired of Pee-wee. Everyone else loves him.
Well, like, Francis' dad.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, I don't know, the neighborhood kids, like, are all about Pee-wee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is before, like, the internet, so he was, like, the, like, cool-ass, like, neighbor.
I mean,
I also realized in the 80s, having just a quirky neighbor was, like, this is awesome. We should hang out with this person a lot.
Yeah. Especially if he has, like, a playhouse like Pee-wee does, both in the movie and then obviously Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
The movie one is like, they're both awesome in their own unique way, but, like, the movie one has, like, the Rube Goldberg machine going on, where, like, it's just the entire house is, like, one giant like contraption.
Did the movie come first, then the TV show, or the TV show, then the movie?
It was the movie, and then the show started, like, the year after the movie.
Gotcha.
Because then the Playhouse, like, it blows up for the show. It's all the anthropomorphic friends, like Cherry and Magic Screen and Zombie and everyone. Obviously, we're not in the movie.
Blows up in the first movie?
Well, I'm understanding it blew up as far as, like, scale and, like, characters and.
I just think how of a introduction where at the end of that, I'm like, wait, I don't remember that blowing up, and then it's sort of like now he rebuilds it, but everything's alive, and then it's like the TV show plot. That'd be different.
Yeah, but I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the movie is, I mean, one of the best comedies of all time. It's there's so many memorable quotes and scenes and.
Oh yeah, like that's when you know it's, like, not overplayed, when people start posting it and stuff for memorializing it, and it still feels fresh. Like, the simple quotes, the tequila dance, like, that was everywhere.
Like, paging Mr. Herman, Mr. Pee-wee Herman. And then I think one of my favorite scenes from Pee-wee's Big Adventure is, like, the interrogation scene where he's just like pulling out all the exhibits. Like, Exhibit C, this piece of gum that was on the ground near where my bike was. Exhibit Q. And then Pee-wee's Playhouse just like it was one of those shows where it's like the kids watch it, but then also like parents can watch it, and the parents can like, or parents probably even watched it like when the kids weren't even watching it. They would just watch it themselves, like not even with no kids around because it was so good.
Yeah, cool parents would be doing that.
Yeah, and all the guest stars that are just like only for the parents, like people that kids have no idea who the hell they even are, showing up at Pee-wee's Playhouse. And then going into like the Christmas special is also like a classic.
It's been a while since I've seen that one. That might be on our year's radar.
That was on Netflix for like forever. I don't think anything Pee-wee is up streaming right now, which is unfortunate timing. Except for
what about the movie? Like that other movie?
Well, the Netflix original movie is on Netflix, obviously. But like Big Adventure is not anywhere right now. Big Top Pee-wee is not anywhere right now. Pee-wee's Playhouse is anywhere right now. Because I think Playhouse was on Tubi or one of those services for a while.
I also feel like the rights are just scattered in the wind. Because like Netflix owns that one. I feel like Disney owned Pee-wee or Universal owned the Big Adventure.
I'm pretty sure Playhouse was a CBS show.
Well, the movies are just mystery.
Whoever put them out, or Tim Burton, or I don't know. But I mean, other stuff besides Pee-wee that Paul Reubens was in. I think a big one is Mystery Men is a huge one. That was great. I know for Disney fans, like Star Tours, like original version of Star Tours, but now also Galaxy's Edge, Rex, RX-42.
Did he do the voice again?
He for DJ Rex, who's like the playing at Oga's Cantina now in Galaxy's Edge, he came back and did the voice. Yeah, so it's still Paul Reubens. Like you can go hear Paul Reubens in Oga's Cantina if you go to Disneyland or Disney World. And like season 1 or season 2? I think it was season 1 of What We Do in the Shadows, like the the Vampiric Council.
He's in there.
Yeah, because they had a bunch of people who previously played vampires, because Paul Reubens was in the OG Buffy the Vampire Slayer as one of the main villains of that movie, and then he came back as himself, who was a vampire, along with like Tilda Swinton and Wesley Snipes and everyone Danny Trejo, everyone else who played a vampire that could show up.
When was Tilda Swinton a vampire?
I think it was in that it was like that. It was her and Tom Hiddleston. They were like I think it was like Only Lovers Left Alive or something. It was like an artsy vampire movie. They were like vampires who have been like alive for like 1,000 years or something.
What? I like totally don't remember this movie.
I think it might have been like a Jim Jarmusch movie.
Oh, French movie?
Well, the same guy did like The Dead Don't Die and Patterson and Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. There's also Paul Reubens. He's also the voice of I think it's the ship, the Navigator, in Flight of the Navigator, or one of the like creatures on that ship.
I haven't seen Flight of the Navigator in such a long time. I kind of forgot everything about that movie.
Paul Reubens, he has so many like vocal performances and just like tons of like random animated things and shows. Like apparently he was Locke in Nightmare Before Christmas, so like Lock, Stock, and Barrel, like he was Locke.
Yep, now I know that one.
Penguin's father in Batman Returns was a classic one. He's only in like the intro, but it was like a very memorable intro.
Just posh rich people throwing their baby in rivers.
Yep, as you do.
As you do in Gotham.
But yeah, tons of roles, tons of performances. Absolutely unique. Like there will never be anyone like him again, probably ever. So R.I.P. Paul Reubens. Hopefully some of the like Big Adventure or Playhouse like ends up streaming again somewhere, because I'm sure a lot of people will want to check those out again in light of this news. I do know his HBO special is on HBO Max, like when the basically the pilot, or like the whole where Pee-wee's, that's where everything came from. It was like 1981, so like pre the movie, pre the show, like that special he did in like New York is on HBO Max. If you want to watch that.
Wow. Just a live performance.
Yeah, because Pee-wee started out as like a live like comedy character that he created.
I also feel like it started as like a public access character, right?
I don't know if it was public access. It was like a stand up like in New York like improv or like a comedy club kind of character.
Can you imagine that? Like, you don't see that too many days. The character actor comedy club.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like in the 2000s where the comedy actor could lose himself and just be that character. And it's just like, okay, we just take it face value. Like, yeah, you're Larry the Cable Guy. That's just who you are for the next 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Pee-wee definitely, like, because he did other things and he wasn't always Pee-wee, like, you know, he was doing other things. Paul Reubens was, you know, Paul Reubens the comedian, Paul Reubens the actor, Paul Reubens just like sort of just being bizarre. It wasn't like a Pee-wee character, just like, all right, like I'll show up on like a Stephen Colbert thing and just do things with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, like he was very versatile, but of course he also had like a drug problem. Do you remember like this is cocaine? You're like, whoa, what's Pee-wee doing?
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably one of the most like infamous like anti-drug ads of all time.
Yep.
This is crack.
Kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. But moving on to basically the exact polar opposite of, you know, Pee-wee's Playhouse and Pee-wee Herman, Saw. So we're getting Saw X in September, and we got the first show this week. Now I know, Chris, you and I are both big Saw fans, but I think we've both been like very disappointed with the most recent two entries in the franchise. Did you even see Spiral? I don't remember if you saw Spiral. Okay,
You
so you never
just told me everything I needed to know, and I was like,
okay.
And like
I know
I've seen bits and pieces of the other one.
Jigsaw.
Like, yeah, Jigsaw, the one where it's like
all
another
Jigsaw.
prequel.
Yeah. Well, there's only Jigsaw was the one that, like, the first one after the final chapter, which is the prequel that totally like negates like the impact of the first movie, because why it just makes like John seem lazy that he just like locked two guys in a room after he had like an elaborate barn game like before. And then yeah, Spiral was terrible because it's just like a guy who's sort of inspired by Jigsaw, but not Jigsaw and not an apprentice, and just doing his own thing that's sort of like Jigsaw. And it's why is this why what is the Book of Saw? What is anything? But Saw X is taking a interesting tack in the franchise. It's set between Saw and Saw 2, so it's like an interquel. And then Tobin Bell is fully back as John Kramer, and apparently between Saw and Saw 2, he found out about some sort of miracle kind of cancer treatment in Mexico, so he goes down there, but then it turns out to be a scam, and they don't cure him, and he's even worse off than he was before. So then this new game is getting revenge on the scammers that took his money and scammed him in Mexico, and then putting them through like medical themed games to, you know, teach him a lesson.
It seems weird because this is supposed to be before Saw 2.
Yes.
So it's like he just did the first two incidences flawlessly, mind you, where besides like Jigsaw, where it's like his first trap, but it's all like really elaborate for like a Saw movie.
That's the worst part of Jigsaw is like Jigsaw, all the traps are like super late game Jigsaw traps, but it's supposed to be his like first game.
Yeah,
because
those are all almost climactic traps.
He's got like there's a giant blender in Jigsaw and like a motorcycle one.
The corn. There was like a corn silo with a blender in there.
Yeah, there's a giant blender trap that was like in Jigsaw. It's like he did that, and then his next game was I'm gonna lock two guys in a room chained to pipes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna lay on the floor the whole time.
And hopefully, I don't know what the time limit was. Was it for them to discover?
Yeah.
Something
At some point, would y'all just get like if they didn't solve it or like do it like anything in like the right amount of time, would y'all just get up and be like, "You fucking idiots! You cut your leg off!"
Well, no, it was supposed to be that like, weren't they both poisoned? And then they both had to figure out how to get out of there to get the antidote, because the other guy was poisoned. The like, staff guy, the guy that was like who you thought was Jigsaw, was like red herring. He was like, oh, he's doing this because he was poisoned by Kramer, so that's why he's like trying to do all this work. But because he like, remember he like breaks in the room and then he gets shot, and then it's like, all right, well now what?
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like Michael Emerson, like Zepp? Yeah.
Zepp shows up, does the one thing, and then he's like, cool, and then it's like, turns out, no, it's the guy on the floor all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Zepp just dies. Like he shows up in the room, he's like, well, I need to kill like both
Danny
of you.
Glover? Like...
No, that was later. Danny Glover, did he kill Zepp?
I feel like didn't Danny Glover get shot in the neck in one, and then he was like came back.
That was the beginning. He gets shot in the neck, and that gives him the whisper sounds, and then he's supposed to get shot again by Zepp. But then Zepp comes back into like the main room, and then he gets like shot again by like one of the guys. Because then it's like, all right, like, because remember it's like, okay, I have to kill you. If we kill you, like one of us kills the other one, then we both get out. But then it's like, well, like we can't. And then it's like, because then they're out of bullets. Remember that was another thing. Like it was a gun, and they're out of bullets, and they're like, okay, well, shit. Then it's like, what do we do? How do I get them to time limit? And then the guy sawed off his foot, and then he was like, yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, it's so complicated in the beginning. Once you try to connect that prequel movie, and then you get this one that I'm like, okay, so this is how he recruits Amanda, I guess, because he brings Amanda into this.
Like, yeah, this is either like her first apprenticeship job, or because I don't. Was she already working for him in the first one? Because we find out that that's the twist of 2 is like, oh, Amanda's the secret apprentice she's in the game, but she's actually like working for him. Like,
yeah, she makes a cameo. She was a victim of the first movie, but
she was the first person to be in like the reverse bear trap.
Yeah, but she beat it.
Yeah.
And then because she beat it, they brought her back. And then, well, technically it was like the same week, because her boyfriend was the one that like hurt John Kramer's wife and their unborn baby.
Yeah.
And he failed his tests, and
which you found out like in like what, Saw like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah,
so they had to keep like coming up with like crazy like coincidences for everything.
Yeah, a lot. You're right. It is crazy coincidences, and like that's why I'm like, why complicate it? Why not just do, hey, like, I don't know, like, as much as it pains me, but like I just don't want John Kramer.
I don't understand why they just don't do Carrie Elways.
Yeah,
like, you set it up.
Is the logical choice.
You set it up.
It makes sense. He's
got henchmen. He's got. It's like he's the ultimate apprentice, and he has henchmen. Like he's like knows all John's things. Like, and then just like, nah, we're gonna like come up with like crazy timeline. We're just gonna keep like going backwards to make things even more complicated.
But not only backwards, it's like, goddamn, like just convoluted, because now you have like, if you up until let's say the last movie, or like number 4 where Kramer's dead, he has potentially like Amanda, who is I would consider like like another master level apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the cop.
Yep.
That
Hoffman.
he saved. Hoffman, another master level apprentice. He actually was a Jigsaw like copycat, so he was good at building his traps already.
Yep.
Then you had Carrie Elway.
Yep.
Who was like practicing, medical stuff and just sort of being the like head surgeon that whenever Kramer needed to do operations on like people, he was the guy.
Which
I wonder makes logical sense.
Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna be involved in this. Like, are we gonna see Carrie Elwes in this one? Because this seems like it's all like surgery stuff in this Saw X.
And then
like,
just have at the end a flash forward where Carrie Elwes kills the other two dum-dums that are trying to take the mantle.
Mm-hmm.
And then like what? Then you have the other cop from Book of Jigsaw.
Well, he's not he didn't even meet John. Like he had nothing to do with John. He was just like, oh, I heard about this Jigsaw guy. I'm gonna do that. Like,
oh, it wasn't even connected.
He's not even connected. He's just like, hey, remember that Jigsaw guy? I'm gonna do that. But like
wow.
Because he came up with his own crappy. Instead of like a Billy puppet, he had like a pig puppet, and then he did like his own. He did that stupid voice, the high pitched voice, instead of the Jigsaw voice.
See, that's why I'm just like, whenever you talk about this, I'm just like, I do not want to watch this. This is
you have failed the cops. that was the Spiral voice. It's like the first time I heard that, I was just like dying of like, this is not the voice. This is not the voice you guys are doing. It's like,
someone's fucking with me. I got a wrong copy of the movie.
The cops are corrupt. The cops are corrupt, and you have failed to be a cop. So now you will face the justice of the people.
That's like a Family Guy skit of a Saw thing, right? Like
where he screwed, like his voice thing is screwing up.
Yeah, like that sounds like a parody, like a bad parody. What?
Yeah,
I forgot that.
I think
that's terrible.
The thing with Saw X that I like seemed interesting too, or hopefully is interesting, is that it seems like it's gonna be like a hybrid of like the first one where it's like one room, but also like more elaborate traps like from the later series. Like people are in like different surgical devices, but they're all in the same room, and so it seems like they have like each of them has like to do their own trap or a game separately or all together. So it might feel more like the first movie, but like slightly more like elaborate from like the later movies.
But you know what seems stupid but would work? It's just that basically he just gives whoever these people like are just cancer. You know, like, that to me is like the ultimate Saw trap. Just like bombard them with like bullshit, and then it's just like, oh, I put toxic waste in your water, and then just like
I've bombarded you with radiation. You have the cancer that I have now. Kill yourself.
That's it. That's the whole goddamn movie. Just like a half an hour. Like what?
Well, this one too might also be a more reasonable. Which one was the one where like John was like just like the insurance company?
Like, 3?
Like
3 or 4. That was the one where the insurance adjuster decided that he wasn't like his life wasn't worth like funding the medical thing, and then that was his whole thing, because it was like, how can you wage like life, like you're just like, you don't understand,
you judge life. Now you will have to decide who lives and dies.
It was something like sort of meaningful like that. It was more of a commentary on the medical like insurance.
The later ones, like the middle ones, got weird, where it was like it got less about John's like personal mission and just like, I heard about the real estate, like the real estate scamming that's going on. I'm gonna deal with the housing people. Like,
wait, that happened?
I think that was 5 or 6. Was just like random. It was like some sort of like land, like real estate scam or something, and then people lost their houses, and then John was like, you all were involved in a housing scam, so I'm gonna kill you, or like you need to work together to get out of it, or That was definitely one of the I think it was like 5 or 6. I think was like.
I just don't remember that. Like, I just don't remember the real estate one. I just remember the medical one because that was kind of memorable. I mean,
Yeah.
and then was also that there's another one where it's like he got revenge on a doctor for not looking at the diagnosis, right?
Oh yeah. So I'm looking at 5. 5 is everyone involved was like they were involved in covering up a like fire that killed a bunch of people in a building. And then the whole thing was like you all should have worked together and you would have made it out alive because like the last test was like all 8
Teamwork.
of you all you need to like give like a little bit of blood you would have gotten out, but then it was like one person left, so they had to give all the blood.
Well, because they didn't have enough people, so it was like between the two of them they had to do really fucked up, like pretty much mutilate their arms because there was like enough to drain without killing them.
Mm-hmm. Which that was a fun Saw movie, but it, like just the reasoning was just so like just John just like reading a paper one day, it's like building fire.
Wait, he had nothing to do with those people?
I don't think so. I think it was just like he just saw the news about you all cover up this building fire. That's bad. I'm
like, okay,
teamwork.
Honestly, the movies that like he has a personal stake, like it involves him, do sound better as a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, like Jigsaw was like a dumb one where like it was he got diagnosed and then he was just like, well, time to do some evil shit, and then I think it was just randos, right? I think he, except for the one guy who happened to be a doctor.
Well, so like Jigsaw, like you're talking about like the prequel movie.
Yeah, the pre one.
I think the twist to that one, or the thing with that one, was that John tried to kill himself, and then he either like he failed or he decided not.
That happens in Saw 1 where he drove off a cliff, but then he fought to survive, and he was like, "Fuck this cancer, I'm gonna live." And then.
But then I think the thing about Jigsaw, like the Jigsaw, is that the movie is that's what inspired him. Like, oh, I almost died and got a second chance, so I'll make people die and get a second chance. People who are missing things.
Yeah, well, that was the gimmick of the first movie, but then that turns out wrong because, like, I don't know what his goal was either. Because now it's weird because he had like his first apprentice, who was like his, in this case, the true apprentice bullshit, right? And then he got a second one by accident because then he's like, when he saw Carrie Otherway, he's like, hey, cool, this guy wants to live. Like,
yeah, that was like the funniest, stupidest part about Jigsaw was that like the one guy that like the test, like his game broke, like it didn't work properly, and so John was like, oh, sorry, Mulligan, like you're my apprentice now, sorry, like.
And then he was like the winner. He was like,
that was supposed to happen.
But then it's like that guy didn't really earn anything. He just was asleep at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, and also I'm on Wikipedia. I forgot like Jigsaw also had like laser collars in Jigsaw. It's like, and he never used those again. But he had like this like crazy advanced weaponry in like before the first game.
He invented lasers.
Like a laser like bear trap or like a laser collar.
Like, you know how much power you need to make a laser that cuts through things? It's not like a flashlight where it's just like, a bunch of batteries. Like, you need to have like a lens. You need to have like a diamond, like you need some sort of prism that is also small enough to fit in a collar. I don't know. Again, you're not like, that's why I kind of straight up like the mechanical bullshit where it's like, here's just a bunch of shrapnel like in a jar and I put your hand in it. It's like uncomfortable, like, or it's here's a giant saw blade and it's swinging at you. It's like, I understand that.
Well, the one that just makes me just so I think a lot of people are uncomfortable. I mean, just a giant bin full of needles. Like,
oh my god, yeah, that's still to the day fucking creepy. And here's the insane thing, that could just happen. You know what I mean? Like, you can. There are bins of needles and things. Like, like medical waste goes to someplace. But what if one day that medical waste spills out, like out of a truck or like in front of your home and you didn't know that? Like, no one's gonna fucking walk around with a laser collar, or reverse bear trap. But a bin full of needles, that's possible.
Or also, I mean, same movie Saw 2. Like you put your hands in a box and then there's
can't
razor
get out.
blades that you can't pull your hands up because there's razor blades. So you have to like cut yourself to get your hands out. It's just so simple, but just so like horrific looking, and like you can imagine that like you in this situation and be like, oh god, like I would
Yeah.
not be able to put my hand out of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, out of the situation,
Simple is
the
better.
box, and then the fucking needles are like, actually, what could happen?
Yeah, simple ones are the most effective ones. But yeah, we'll see how things go in Saw X. It's September 29th is when that comes out, so right before October. And it's the 10th entry in the Saw franchise. So also this week we got the first trailer for Loki season 2, which is coming out in October. And it's been a while. I think it's been, when was Loki season 1? Like 2 years ago? Like 2020, 2021?
Say 2020.
But yeah, it's finally back. Hopefully to kind of drag us out of the doldrums that the MCU has been in recently. Like,
Tailspin.
did you finish Secret Invasion, Chris?
Did not, but I'm
Okay.
hearing bad things.
It was so boring and bland, and it should not have been.
How do they mess that up? How?
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, Loki. I think a lot of people would like agree that Loki is one of the best, if not the best, Disney Plus show. So hopefully, season 2 will keep up that momentum. And it's picking up from the end of the first season, where Loki kind of ended it back up at the TVA, but it was a alternate timeline TVA, where Kang was controlling everything, and apparently because he's from a different timeline now he's time slipping and kind of like just like blinking out of existence and ending up in a different time period and then blinking back in. So that's like something to figure out, along with like trying to stop Kang and fight more Kang stuff. And the whole gang's back, so yeah, obviously Tom Hiddleston's back. Owen Wilson's back as Mobius, and then Gugu Mbatha-Raw as Ravonna Renslayer, and Wunmi Mosaka as B-15, and Sophia Di Marino as Sylvie, and then Ke Quan, Oscar winner Ke Quan, is joining the cast as Obi, who works in the TVA repair department.
He just shows up.
Well, apparently, I think the trailer they go to him because like, oh, can you fix Loki's like time slipping? He's like, no, that's not supposed to be happening.
I mean, I try not. I didn't watch the trailer so much because like I want to be genuinely shocked and don't let my brain try to piece together things.
I think it was.
That's just me, you know.
Yeah, it was
so much of this.
Yeah, it was. I think you don't really get a lot. You get a little bit of like what's going to on in the show for season 2, but like it's kind of just like random like nonsense stuff. Like okay, so like Sylvie's working at a burger shop, like a burger like restaurant, and then like Loki's just time slipping into like the Wild West or something. It's just like it's a lot like random imagery that you're like, how is this all gonna fit together? But yeah, hopefully it kind of like starts to uptick of the MCU again. Cause I think this year like the only like real like positive MCU entry has been Guardians Volume 3. Because like, Ant-Man Wasp: Quantumania was fine. Okay. Yeah,
it was fine. Yeah, it's like it was fine. It wasn't terrible.
Secret Invasion was pretty bad.
I only saw the first 2, and I was like, I need a break.
And then that's pretty much it. That's been it. It's been Ant-Man the Wasp, and then Secret Invasion, and now Guardians Volume 3, and now Loki. And then we got the Marvels coming up in November. And I think Echo is supposed to start in the fall or something. Like November is when Echo's gonna come out. And I think they're dropping the entire show like on November 29th. That's it.
The whole thing. Wow.
The whole show. I think the first time they're doing like a binge kind of method for one of the shows. But yeah, hopefully the fall is better for the MCU than the spring summer has been, and we'll find out in October. And then last trailer for this week is we got the trailer for King of Killers, which awesome title and looks like hopefully maybe an awesome movie. It stars Frank Grillo and Elaine Moussi and George St. Pierre, and Stephen Dorff's in there for some reason. But basically, Frank Grillo is the king of killers. He's like the world's greatest assassin, apparently, or like thinks he is. And then he puts out a contract on himself and basically starts this contest where he draws all the best assassins to Tokyo, and if someone can kill him, they get $10 million. But he's gonna try to kill all of them and prove he's the best.
Okay, he's not even sick or anything. He's just sort of like, I want to do this.
Franco's just like I'm the best. I'm the king of killers. I have a cool like Oni demon mask I wear. I'm the best. Like try to kill me. And then yeah, looks like a lot of cool kind of John Wick style action. Hopefully, it's from Kevin Grevaux, who he created the characters for Underworld and also co-starred in those movies. And it's a graphic novel. This is based on a graphic novel that he wrote, and he wrote and directed this movie. And it's gonna be out. It's gonna be out on September 1st. So definitely check out the trailer for that. Definitely, it looks like hopefully it's gonna be a cool kind of John Wick. Hopefully, Elaine Moussi is like a legit awesome martial artist. So hopefully there'll be some cool, martial arts fights and stuff. Also, George St. Pierre is also there, and Frank Grillo is always awesome. So this has a lot of potential for this one.
And the main hero is Frank Grillo, right?
Well, no, he's the main. He's like the villain. Like he's like one of He's like Shao Kahn or something. He's just like, come kill me. This is my contest. Come kill me. I like Elaine Moussi from like the Kickboxer movies. The new one is like the main hero.
You know what's interesting though, because I'm looking at the credits. He's like 5th build.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who's this movie starring? I mean, I don't mind another Frank Grillo vehicle because they're not bad. But all right, I'm down for it. I'm down for like Frank Grillo is like the big bad, and he's also fighting. He's someone who's getting his hands dirty, which is respectable. Not just like a sitting there and waiting bad guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's going to be VOD digital theater September 1st. So you can watch that multiple ways when that comes out. So moving on to some other news. We got some news about Scream 7. So we just got Scream 6 this year, and Scream 7's coming up. And apparently the news is that Christopher Landon, who directed the Happy Death Day movies and Freaky, is going to be the new director of Scream 7. Which that kind of seems like a perfect fit for because Happy Death Day movies and Freaky were like already had the same kind of self-aware meta quality about them.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like it would translate well to Scream. And the guys directed the last two entries, Radio Silence, aka Matt Bettinelli Olpin and Tyler Gillette are working on a secret Universal Monsters movie. So that's why they're not coming back for the 7th entry. Oh, Christopher Landon also just directed We Have a Ghost, like that Netflix David Harbour movie where he's a ghost.
Yeah, and he's just a quiet ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen that movie yet. Don't know. Is it good?
I haven't seen it either. Have you seen Scream 5 or 6, Chris?
No.
You haven't seen either of the new ones?
I got to marathon it.
They're on Paramount Plus. So I think the entire Scream series is on Paramount Plus right now. If you want to watch them. 5 was good. Was really good. 6 was okay. It definitely was not as good as 6, but still had some fun moments. I have no idea how they can even where they're gonna keep going for 7 of what they can even comment on at this point, or it feels like they've done everything. But yeah, hopefully Christopher Landon that's or the writers have an interesting idea for 7. I definitely would be down for another new setting. Like don't go back to Woodsboro again. Like because New York was like a pretty fun setting. So maybe find another new setting for 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any word if like any of like the 5 and 6 cast are coming back. If like Jenna Ortega or any of those guys are coming back for 7. But it's probably going to be a bit before this comes out because obviously the writer's strike. There's no writers for this movie, and there won't be any writers until the strike's over. So it's going to be a bit.
Yeah, it really puts a hamper on all that.
I think some time definitely they take some time because like I think the other thing about 6 is that it felt rushed because it was like literally the year after 5 it just came out, and so I feel it feels like it probably could have used a little bit more time to like work out some things for 6. But last news this week is that it was actually like breaking right before we started recording this week is that Lin-Manuel Miranda is going to be adapting The Warriors, the Walter Hill classic, for a stage musical.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely not the news you would have expected to see ever. But yeah, the Warriors on stage as a musical. West Side Story with like guys dressed as baseball furies right around. Yeah, I mean, this sounds insane.
Weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. It's like trying to blend the genre.
Hopefully one of the songs is "Can You Dig It," and the whole sequence is just a music, is a song, and then hopefully there's a song called "Warriors Come Out and Play."
It's like we're never gonna get a true sequel to the Warriors, right? I
No.
feel like it's one of those like classic of the time. It's a movie that basically inspired a genre.
Well, I think the game didn't the game add some like side stuff to like, if it had some
like
news story
lore.
stuff. Yeah.
It's just some side story, but never to the point of like having like the next day, like a continuation. Because the world space in that is like it's too complicated to keep going. Because if you think about it, gangs used to be popular back in the era this movie came out in, and then basically have been wiped out by like have gone underground. No one's hanging out like the way they used to be that way.
It's also just like the grimy like 70s New York that doesn't exist anymore. So
it doesn't exist anymore. The closest we got to like a Warriors thing was the John Wick, but everyone at that point are assassins. They're not gangs. They're just a guild of assassins.
Very well dressed, well groomed people,
well armed,
not
organized,
not grimy like teens running around knives,
not taking trains.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really can't have the same thing as a gang that can't afford a car. So that's what I'm saying. It's a very special type of genre, and it has to be like I guess a decade thing. Where even if they ever attempt a sequel, which I hope they don't, it would have to be like the 80s. So it's like 80s gangs.
Well, I mean, you mentioned John Wick. I mean, John Wick had a direct like John Wick 4 was like a direct reference to the Warriors. They had a DJ directing people boppers to go kill John Wick. Like.
Yeah, but that's the closest we got, and that was and it's like I said, when you get to that level, you have to match the time, and it's like, all right, thank God these assassins always listen to this FM station that plays like the hits and also clues.
But yeah, definitely an intriguing idea. We'll see what the songs are like. I don't know if they use any of the like. I mean, Joe Walsh, like In the City, is like a classic song. I don't know if that would like factor in at all, or if it's gonna be all like original Lin-Manuel Miranda songs, or if it's gonna be like a Hamilton raps. Is it gonna be like a rap musical? Is it gonna be like a classic musical? Who knows? I expect lots of dance fighting and like lots of like colorful costumes, baseball furies. Be interesting to see how they like the set of like. I guess you could do like like some sort of like background screen or something, and you could just keep like pulling it as they move through New York, just like keep like changing like the background or something. Because that's like, I mean, that's the whole point of the movie too, is like just like constantly just going through like different like locations of New York and like trying to get to like Coney Island. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll have to, when this comes out, we'll have to there'll be an every action trip, Chris, to see the Warriors.
Could do that. Be down for it. It's like be on Broadway.
It's gonna be a stage musical. I mean, I don't know if they said it's like officially on Broadway, but I would imagine. I mean, I would imagine that when the Marin has the juice to like get it on Broadway.
Hope so, because like there's off-Broadway productions where like musicals go to hide, and then it's
Yeah.
just like, where are we?
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be like a full big Broadway musical based on the Warriors. So we'll have to see. So that's it for news this week. So I jump into show and tell. And Chris, what did you watch over the last week or so here?
So I have been trying to catch up with some action movies of 2023, and I finally caught the movie Assassin's Club, starring Henry Golding. Golding.
His big follow up to Snake Eyes, or
I'm gonna say though, like, he's not the problem in this movie. The movie does a good like showcasing him, like it does a good job of like making him a sympathetic hitman, because out of the ones you meet in this whole thing, they try to like lean into like a John Wick like secret society of a underworld thing go on, but the only thing that like what John Wick does well is that like there's contrast, and then there's also like you have to suspend some disbelief of like how this like society works of assassins, right? But you have the main plot that I guess if you've ever watched the trailer a few times, you can see where it's like 6 assassins all trying to kill each other in this like deal where like they need to eliminate each other for like money. Though it's like they never question why. But the movie kind of reveals that like a few of them know, but then it's like, what about the guys who don't know? You know, like it's like you spend so much time with Henry Golding because he's like, oh, like I'm trapped in this game and I'm gonna like I'm trying to get out of it. Like, okay, so before I get too far and really get the details. So the point is that this movie, it follows Henry Golding, a guy named Morgan, who is trained by Sam Neill as like this handler. And then on his like he's trying to get Henry Golding's trying to get out of the assassins thing because he's like, yeah, I want to live my life. I've got like a beautiful like girlfriend and I want to like I'm done. But someone put a hit on all these assassins that all have connection to Sam Neill. At least that's what the movie implies, but doesn't go any further. It's like at least 3 of them do. At least they kind of tell you, and then the rest are just mystery assassins. They just forgot to like connect the dots to. But the movie like speeds through that plot. Like you think it's gonna be this like, oh, like every few minutes he's gonna be encountering these assassins. You gotta like handle it. No, it's like 15 minutes he handles pretty much everyone, except for the last like 2. And Sam Neill is like, out of everyone, he does the least amount of like moving around in the movie and set pieces. He's like on the phone, sitting in chairs, having a drink, or like getting out of bed. You know, like it's just like you could tell who got paid for like his stardom, but had to do the least. Meanwhile,
Sam Neill probably like showed up for like one day. He's like, I'll give you one day.
He legit has like one really great sequence. I guess I'll spoil it a little, where like he's being confronted by what's her face? Noomi
Paz.
Noomi Paz, yeah. And like he's doing this gentleman way of handling like this really insane situation. And he's doing it like, yeah, like if I die, if I live, you know, like what kind of life is this if I'm like living like this? Like it's like he show his true character, but up until this point, you kind of think he's the main big bad because it's like the movie points that direction really early, and I'm like, all right, well let's explain because his connection's like, okay, like, oh, he just like doesn't want his like group of assassins that he's trained, like he's got a whole bunch of proteges, and then it's like, oh, you want to get out of the game? Well, it's the protocol, I guess, to start killing your proteges. Like, it's that typical movie thing, but is a little bit of a twist, though it doesn't quite explain that because he's like, oh yeah, like okay, in order to explain this dumb part, so it's like he knew that there was a contract on Henry Golding, and he knew that there were other people that like are part of this thing, and he sort of just like waits it out. Like he's just like, well, whoever wins, like I'll deal with, but up to this point, like I'm just not gonna tell anyone that like I know everyone. It's so dumb. Then that's not even the main plot. The main plot that like starts this whole goddamn thing happens like years ago. That an assassin killed this like land baron's like daughter's like it killed this like land baron guy who also like mobbed up, and then his daughter seeks revenge, and then is setting off on this like big like game because the movie points to her as like, oh, she's gonna be like the big bad, but then it's like, wait, how does she know everyone? And the movie goes, oh shit, like how do we explain this? And then the idea is that like one of these assassins was the person responsible that like killed her father, and it's like she's doing this thing to kind of get them all together, and she put up the bounty. So Sam Neill knew this. Henry Golding doesn't know this, but he does eventually learn like half of it. The girl that like sets up the bounty somehow knew like 90% of the movie. Like she knew the assassins, she knew the bounty would do this, she knew like who to hire. And then, like, the movie sort of just, like, goes, we'll deal with the action first, like, in the middle. So, like, it sets up all this giant plot and a lot of this middle part. However, at the end, you could see it just gluing things together to try to make it stick. And it has a horrible, horrible, like, anticlimactic ending. Where basically, like, nothing really like everything that should have happened happens in like the second act. Like the second act ends with a very big like almost a final showdown. Then nothing happens. Then you have this weird like reveal, but then we know as the audience and even like the movie. Oh my! So not to spoil much again, but Nome Rapaz. I cannot pronounce her name.
Yumi Rapaz.
Nume Rapaz. Yeah, so Nume Rapaz. She's supposed to be playing like two different kind of like personas, and it's not like she's a psychopath, right? Like it's not like she's like a schizophrenic person. It's like she just like her day job is a intelligence officer for the government, and then her other thing is she's an assassin. So in the beginning, the movie makes it seem like, oh, like she's also this assassin, and then it's like, oh, she also is like the person contacting Henry Golding to like say, hey, we should team up because like we're being targeted. So it's like, oh, she's playing both sides, one of those things. And then she's also actively like eliminating the other assassins so they can have a final showdown. But it makes no sense of all this work because all it takes is like one thing and then her plan blows up in her face. And it does. Like twice. Mm-hmm. And here's the insane thing. The first time it blows up in her face, she just sort of goes, okay, well, yeah, my bad. Like, didn't mean for that to happen. You'll be fine, Henry Golding. Just keep saying keep trusting what I say. And he's just like, okay, yeah, I have no reason not to. It's like, wait, what? Don't trust another assassin. Then it blows up in her face a second time, and then it's like she kind of burns her CIA character in a dumb way where it's like, what? Well, it's like now it's like she's full-time the other character, and it's like, well, the reason the movie explains that is off like kind of like a passing it mentions like, oh, like because Henry Golding knows who she is, and she's trying to prove like, she's not who she says she is to like everyone else. And but they're like, no, that's impossible. She died of a heart attack, like in some other location. It's like, do you have a body? It's like, no, we don't. Like, and the movie just moves on. You know what I mean? Like, it's so dumb to kind of get to this last showdown between the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like really like obscure of her plan, because even if she gets away with it, there's so much evidence up to this point, and there's so many people that saw this. You know what I mean? Like, it just the movie like kind of forgets that like it kind of got up its own butt of just being this clever like twist and double twist and like, oh, we're gonna take this conventional thing, and who you thought was the villain was like not the villain, and the person you think is the villain is actually the villain. Like, yeah, movie, I figured that out like halfway through. So like, what? And then I'm not even mentioning the last guy. Like, there's another guy in the movie named Ryder
Mm-hmm.
who legit looks like a psychopath. Like he's one of the, he's like a real life martial artist. This like Italian big dude. He's like 6'2", and he's like jacked, and he's always greasy. He looks like a 90s like tough guy character, and he never has like a right shirt except for like one scene he's wearing actual like clothes, but the rest of the time he's wearing like a muscle shirt, you know, and it's like. Oh my god, I'm not like there's so much to break down. I wrote down this. There is a weird tie-in to like the Egyptian god of like justice, and
Okay.
it's just like they spend like a good amount of time in the beginning and the middle to bring up like it's like the same god from Moon Knight, where it's like they judge like the heart and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, they bring up a whole time to mention this, and then the lore, and then there's a room full of Egyptian bullshit that like they just stumble in, and it carries over to nothing, Zach. Like, I wrote down my note saying a room full of bullshit. Like, I'm not even. It comes out of nowhere. Like as if Henry Golden stumbles into like the Zodiac killer's like room, and it's just like a room full of scribble, and then jars full of fingers, because that's like a thing in this movie that I'm not even worth bringing up because that's gonna eat more time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the whole big thing about the assassins. Like, how do you prove that like we have the kill? It's like, well, we have fingers. Then like, because the finger thing are supposed to be like what he thinks is like sort of confirming kills to that let the client know that like they're doing their job. But that goes nowhere by the end. Like, in fact, it's like one of the things where it's supposed to imply that like only one guy had that, and then in order to mask, like to confuse like whoever's in charge, that it's like the original killer. Like, it's like supposed to mimic all these different killers, and then it's like this one super killer is supposed to be like undercover because you can't tell which one's the real killer. Like, that makes sense if that was like presented early and they didn't have so many weird plot twists or like a bullshit flashback. Almost the last 10 minutes of the movie, they show you like a flashback that happens before the movie. I mean, after the first like initial story begins. It's like, okay, right before this whole thing starts of like the modern like time of the story. It's like, oh, like 2 weeks before, and it's like, what? Like, I feel like this should have played early and then have like a bigger impact. And I feel like this was edited out of order, and it's so goddamn stupid, Zach. Like, I legit was just like dumbfound, and I was like, I need it. Like, I'd have to finish the movie now. Like, why is this? I'm like looking at the time left, and I was like, how is there more plot? Like, why is there more plot? And then like again, like it negates a lot of the good parts of the middle. You know, you get to the third act and you just want to see this tied up in a nice logical ending, and it doesn't. And then it has a bullshit like maybe a part two out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, there's a like, oh, this fight isn't over. Dun dun dun. I'm like, how? How? That's why I'm like, none of this makes sense. I I looked online. There is no Wikipedia page for this movie.
No, there's not.
There is no Wikipedia page. There's not even like there's like an IMDb, No one put a summary. I mean, no, besides the tag that comes with this.
Yeah.
There's 30 reviews. Most of them are negative. And then like this movie made $188,000 over a budget of I think like 5 million. So it's a schlock movie. Like I'm not, don't get me wrong. Like this is pure schlock. But the problem is that you can sort of save schlock movies by having at least a simple ending. This decided to go like crazy as if this was going to be like a franchise, and it's just like you can't because you spent a lot of money for obscene set designs. Like Sam Neill's character, like I mentioned, you said he could have just had a day. Every scene he's in some weird Italian villa setting, like in another room of this building. And I know like that's not cheap, you know. Even if it's like a fake design, they had to pay for like a lot of this. But there's like this awesome middle that once the movie starts like explaining itself, you're like, I'm in. Like I got over the hump. I'm in for this part. And it's like dumb like ADRing to explain plot, you know? So it's like, all right, like that's fine. Like just get to the next action sequence. And they do. There's like two assassins they just sort of introduce and then just like exit, you know? And it's just like stay with this. This worked. Why are they trying to do some bullshit like not even like a western? It's just like just drama. Like I don't just describe it besides like dumb like sequences. But yeah, if you see the score, it's like 1 out of 10. It's like yeah, no, this is like not a great movie. I think right now on IMDb it's 4 out of 10, and I'm like, this is a good 4. It doesn't need to be any more. I think this review is not like coherent, but this movie isn't coherent. Like it tries so much, and it's like it shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, from the trailer, it looked like, oh, this looks like a solid like John Wick knockoff. Like
no, all that trailer stuff that happens in the middle of the movie. That's what I'm saying. Like that's most of the middle of the movie. It's like, but it's consecutive. Like all that happens. It's like one by one by one by one. So you think it's it's like a crazy 2-day like action sequence that takes place where it's like he does all this and he's injured and all that. It keeps carrying over. So like that made sense. And I was like, cool. I'm about this. Like, but I think they filmed that and went, oh fuck, how do we tie it together and make any goddamn sense? But yeah, the like this is definitely like a rental. I don't think this came to theaters, I believe, and it just didn't do well.
Very, very, very limited, like maybe like one theater or something.
Yeah, I could see why, and it's a shame because Henry Golding isn't bad. He's actually like a believable character that is sort of like I want to be out of this fucking game. And the assassin world is kind of okay. The Sam Neill parts are awesome just because he's like, hey, I'm a handler, like trust me. But then it's like, I don't know, movie. Like you're trying to point that he's a bad guy, then it's revealed that he's not, but then he's revealed that he sort of is, and it's revealed that like he just doesn't have a good plan, you know? Like it's just a falls apart kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe one day Henry Golding will find an action franchise that'll work for him because it was obviously it wasn't Snake Eyes and it wasn't this. So
you know in Snake Eyes how like the halfway point, the big twist that he's actually like a con man / like he's been trying to play both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, except worse. But it's not Henry Golding doing it this time. It's like, it's just like they try to be that clever twist, and it's just like stop being clever. Henry Golding cannot be in movies where there's like a bad twist, because it blows back in his face. Like like it at that point, like this is the last action movie. He hasn't done like an action movie since then.
So, anything else besides Assassin Club, Chris?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time talking about this movie. I'm sorry. I recently watched this movie and I was like, I needed a rant about it, and it's just like to get it out of my head. And the fact that like
I'm having PTSD to when you watched like the 355.
Yeah, man, 355 was worse.
Or Ava.
Like, the 355.
Why do you just keep doing this stuff, Chris? You keep watching these like assassin movies that are like.
Well, no. Actually,
convoluted.
355 was bad, but only because the title makes no sense to me, right? I didn't mind 355 up until the part where it's just like, you know what the 355 is? And it's like, there's 5 minutes left in the movie. Why are we explaining this now?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think the one for that was like was it like Rachel or some bullshit Jessica Chastain movie?
Ava. That's what.
Ava, fuck. God, I hated Ava. No, so I think like there is a theme about assassin movies where it's always like the assassin person tries to like get out of being an assassin.
Yeah,
There's always,
classic
like,
setup.
Classic setup. But it's like they started with that and said, okay, let's try to like keep adding more and more. And it's like, all right, you should have stopped at one point. You added way too much, and then like you didn't need a ritual killer, a serial killer in this movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, what is happening? But I keep it simple. I think in order to like refresh my brain and kind of revert back to childhood where things just sort of made sense, I watched the movie Clue,
Mhm.
which to this day holds up, and it's a shame that like it just didn't get the recognition at the time. Because whenever you hear Clue was a financial bomb, you're like, are you fucking kidding me? This movie is like good misdirection, good mystery, good fun comedy, and then it's like adult themed for a board game for kids, like it's a lot
Yeah,
in the package that makes sense.
It's every line is just like innuendo or like double entendres or like puns or like.
Yeah. And then everyone is perfectly cast just based
Yep.
on just like growing up watching this movie at the time. There's really not too much problems with the characters. Like, I kind of couldn't imagine seeing this movie with other people in it now. But I mean, it's a fun murder mystery. Yeah, there's some plot holes that if you sort of think about certain things are really impossible, but the movie sort of addresses that, where it's like different possibilities. It leaves yourself open, so there's never like a super definite ending, except for like the here's what really happened ending, which makes more sense. It's like the most logical of how like the murders happen in it. But yeah, Clue definitely is like definitely worth a rewatch every few years. I was at the point where I forgot some details of Clue, and I was like, now's the time to watch it again. I haven't seen Clue in at least like 4 years, and that made me forget like certain lines. I knew the outline of what was gonna happen, like because I just haven't seen Clue. I'm trying to avoid it, and then I was like, I'm gonna sit here and just watch it straight through. And it was such a great experience. It was just like a fun comedy that every time it gets slow, it doesn't, right? Like there's no
I don't
dead.
yeah. I was like, when does it get slow? It's
No,
like
it doesn't. Like when you think there's gonna be like a good 5 minutes of them doing a montage or doing a slow search through a room, like and carefully showing them what they're doing, it cuts away.
Yeah.
And it's great timing for that.
I mean, Tim Curry is like at like 10. like the first second he's on screen, he's at like a 10, and then is like just running around like a maniac, like just like for the entire movie. Like it's, I mean, this is easily one of the best Tim Curry movies. He's so good. He's so good. Like it's all of his like all of his like remarks to like all the guests, and the end where he's just like explaining the entire movie again.
Super. And then it's been a while since I've seen that, and it really, if you watch it all the way through, it really is the whole retelling of the whole movie. And the fact that you see alterations in the endings, it's like the possible outcomes.
Yeah.
I thought it was up until a certain point, but he does like a good amount of here's the alternate ending of this, here's the alternate ending of that. And then the third one where it's like everyone starts confessing that they murdered someone. The crazy part is they never blame Mr. Green. I know that he's supposed to be like completely innocent, but he didn't have a conspirator person or a like a spy, because everyone that showed up in the house that got murdered was connected to someone, but Mr. Green didn't.
Yeah.
I always thought that was odd. So like he's the red herring of like, wait, where's your guy? I think would have been a better thing is if he also had someone on like a plant or sort of like hinted at something, it just didn't do that. If they did, that'd be the perfect like misdirection.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic. It's just so many like quotable lines, and yeah, just the energy, just like as soon as like everyone gets to the house and like it really kicks off, it's like nonstop of just like, and it's just endless like yeah puns and double entendres and just crazy crazy lines and running, just constantly running around the house, like all the different rooms, and people are getting murdered. And
Mm-hmm. It's one of those movies that definitely I grew up watching a lot on TV because it was just on like Comedy Central like all the time. And they kind of backpedaled it now. It's not on so often, but it definitely like makes you appreciate the whole entire structure of the movie and then just the cleverness of the twist and then I don't know, just like you really wish Tim Curry did more.
you can definitely draw a line directly from like Clue to like Knives Out and stuff too. Like I'm sure Ryan Johnson's like a huge Clue fan.
Oh yeah.
So anything else, Chris?
Uh, no, that's about it for me. What about you, Zach? What have you been up to?
So I saw pretty much all video game stuff this week. So I saw all of Twisted Metal, which is on Peacock. The entire series dropped 10 episodes on the 27th, and got around to watching it this past week. And yeah, obviously based on the PlayStation games, it's a PlayStation production. I think it's more based on like the first game or like the first like 1, 2, 3. It's definitely not a black adaptation at all. It's more like the first couple games, like 1, 2, 3. And it definitely has that Deadpool Zombieland vibe because Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who wrote Deadpool and Zombieland, are the executive producers and like the showrunners, and so you definitely has that kind of definitely more Zombieland than Deadpool, but like Anthony Mackie is definitely like a Deadpool-esque character because he's constantly just fast talking and trying to get his way out of situations with his mouth. But Zombieland, because there's like it's this new apocalyptic United States where there's all these new rules and all these new societies and all these new communities that have sprung up. And basically the setup is that in 2002, there was kind of a Y2K-esque. It's like what if Y2K actually happened, was just delayed a little bit, because basically all electronics and all that kind of systems fail. So like internet goes down, radio, planes, like anything electronic fails, and then that kind of like society collapses, and then a lot of the major cities wall themselves off. So there's cities that are walled off. They're like kind of like living normally, or they're living way better, and everyone else is kind of like cast into like the wasteland and trying to survive in the wasteland. And so there's like there's like all these different like thieves and murder grouping around. There's like vultures and the holy men are they're like crucifying people. But then Anthony Mackie is a milkman who makes deliveries between all different like civilizations. He's kind of like
an actual milkman.
Well, they call him a milkman, but like he delivers all sorts of things. He's kind of like was it like Norman Reedus in like Death Stranding, like where he's just like this like delivery guy, like going through like a career, going through different like civilizations, like in different like outposts.
Yep, he's just building connections and delivering packages.
Yeah. And he ends up in New San Francisco, and Nev Campbell runs New San Francisco, and she has a job for him where if he can make it all the way to New Chicago and get a package and bring it back, he can become a citizen of New San Francisco and like escape the wasteland, escape the this like outside death trap world, and like be like in a comfy, like basically how it was before like society fell world. So that's basically the whole premise. Is like he has to get to, and he has 10 days to do this. So he has this 10-day limit. He has to get to like Chicago and back to San Francisco, and then along the way he runs into all sorts of crazy characters and all sorts of crazy like different groups. Obviously, Sweet Tooth is running around, who's like the body of Samoa Joe and the voice of Will Arnett. And he also runs into Stephanie Beatriz, who is Quiet, she's definitely like definitely like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine mode, like, but like maybe like slightly more, definitely more like raunchy, because it's like definitely an R-rated MA show. But yes, definitely same vibes as like Rosa. And then they like she tries to rob Anthony Mackie's car, but then they kind of like end up being this like, kind of like partnership, like a loose partnership together to like get to like, she wants to get somewhere else where on the way where he's going. And they kind of have like this like love hate, will they won't they, how they end up like, is this experience gonna like draw them together kind of thing. Because at first they can't stand each other. But then like they're going through like all this like crazy crap together. So, and it's a lot of, it's actually a lot of fun. Like I was like I wasn't sure about the trailers, but like just watching it, it's definitely, if you're a fan of like that Zombieland kind of tone, like the Deadpool tone, it definitely has that tone. There is quite a bit of car combat, although it's maybe not as much as you were expecting. But there's definitely some car combat sequences in it. And all the different places they end up are like unique and fun. Like at one point they end up in like this like Agent Stone, who's played by Thomas Hayden Church, is trying to like rebuild like the law. He has this whole like police organization under him, but they're like being like way more brutal than they would be like before the apocalypse. And they've taken over the Hoover Dam, basically turned the Hoover Dam into like this like giant DMV, but it's like this like hellish DMV where they're like torture people, like making them do paperwork and stuff. And then also stuff like Sweet Tooth like is like living in like a Las Vegas hotel, and then Sweet Tooth is like really interesting on the show because he's kind of like, he's lame a little bit, but he's also like still terrifying, and he is trying to like, his big thing is he wants to like put on a show and have people like applaud and laugh at him, but his show is terrible. It's like this like really, it's just like they Anthony Mackie and Stephanie Beatriz end up in Las Vegas, and then like captured by Sweet Tooth, and then he's like, "Are you gonna come to my show?" And they're like, "Sure." And then it's like, "Well, hopefully you survive the show because no one else has." And so they're like basically being tortured by this horrible Sweet Tooth show that he's doing. And yeah, lots of other guest stars show up too. Actually, a lot more Twisted Metal characters show up than in the trailer. Like some character, if you play the games, you recognize the people that show up, and some of the cars that show up too. And definitely, hopefully they get season 2, because they are what they tease at the end of this season is like season 2 would be like the actual like Twisted Metal like tournament if they get to it. So hopefully there's season 2. And they actually get into like this like the full-on tournament. But this season is like a lot of fun. Lots of fun nods to the game. And I mean, it's not exactly like I mean, the games didn't really have like, they had some lore, but it wasn't like this like that's like, it wasn't like The Last of Us didn't have like this like dedicated story that people were like adamant about. Like you could probably do it's way more flexible with what you could do for Twisted Metal, and what they did was like really fun. So I would say that
a lot of people were betting that it wouldn't be that interesting.
Yeah, definitely. If you have Peacock, definitely check it out. Super funny, super raunchy. Like some of the people that show up are great. I won't spoil who shows up later on, but there's like one episode where someone shows up and it's like over the top insanity. So I saw that, and I also watched the most recent 2 Resident Evil animated movies. So I saw Resident Evil Vendetta, which I had not seen before. I'd seen Degeneration and Damnation, but I hadn't seen Vendetta yet. So I watched that one, which is good. The Resident Evil anime movies, it seems like they get better as they go on. Which I'll talk about Death Island in a second too, because I also watched that. But it's like this like curve upwards of like they get better as they go on. And also like animation wise, they also get way better too, obviously, because like I rewatched Degeneration like recently too, and man, the animation of Degeneration is rough. Going back to that one, I mean, it's like 2008, but I mean, yeah, just like the PS3 quality like graphics of Degeneration, and just like the lifelessness of the faces and stuff. It's like it's still fun. I'll give Degeneration like way over like Infinite Darkness. Like Degeneration like at least like gives you what it was selling of like, hey, there's a zombie attack in an airport, and that's like the whole first half of the movie. Infinite Darkness is like definitely the worst of all these animated things because they did not live up to their premise of like White House with zombies.
Well, Infinite Darkness is the TV show, right?
It was a quote unquote TV show. It was like 4 episodes, a half hour long. They broke a movie into like 4 chunks. It should have just been a movie.
A really bad movie.
But then Netflix gonna sell it as an original series.
Why do they even do that?
I don't know. But yeah, Vendetta's fun. That's a Chris and Leon adventure. They have to like stop a guy like this basically like a knockoff Wesker guy. Like it's like he's obviously trying like it's obviously like because it's post 5, so Wesker's dead. So now they have this new guy, Arius, who is but he's like so like just the same as Wesker basically. He's like a lesser Wesker who's trying to like unleash like a new virus and like sell it to people. And the end of that would take like the second half of that movie takes place in New York City, which is fun. So it's like this big New York City kind of like Resident Evil doesn't usually do that as much. So that's a really fun ending. There's lots of stuff with like Leon gets a motorcycle in Vendetta, and then there's all these action sequences where he's like riding a motorcycle like in a building or like upstairs. It's just like how is he getting this motorcycle into these places? Like he ends up on the roof of a building with a motorcycle. And then Vendetta is also the one that has that ridiculous. I think it became a meme when Vendetta came out of like Chris and Arius are like fighting each other with like and like doing like gun kata against each other, but they have,
like
have machine guns
around each other.
Yes. Which if it was pistols, it would be fine because that makes. I mean, you can understand they're missing with pistols, but it's like automatic machine guns and they're like 2 inches from each other.
Yeah, they're really goddamn close.
Yeah. So that's probably the peak of like insanity and ridiculousness for the this animated series. But actually, I mean, before that scene though, there's actually like a really cool like CQC battle where like Chris and Leon are like fighting like these like zombies in a hallway, and they're doing like, a lot of cool like I don't know solid stakes like military kind of tactics stuff against them, which is really awesome. Also, the opening of it is really fun too because it's like a throwback to like Resident Evil 1 because it's like Chris and his team are like going into like a mansion. It's basically like the Spencer Mansion in Mexico, and then it's all like spooky Resident Evil zombie stuff for like the first like 20 minutes. So yeah, Vendetta's fun, and then Death Island is definitely the best one so far. I mean, now it's the most recent one too. It just came out like last month, and it is. I think if you're a Resident Evil fan, definitely Death Island is definitely one you have to watch because it's the whole gang's here. it's Jill's here, Leon's here, Claire's here, Chris is here, Rebecca's here, and I think it's the first time like a lot of them have been like on screen together or like in the same space together. like I don't think have like Leon and Jill been in anything together, game wise or animation wise. I don't think so.
No.
So that's
like a spin-off game.
Yeah, so that's fun. They're together for like a big chunk of the middle of the movie. Like they're teamed up.
She's wearing her like Resident Evil
3.
Nemesis.
Oh, well, it's this the Jill in this is like straight from this ripped right out of like the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Yeah, it makes no sense now because that's been years if you think about the timeline, and this is after she's been a blonde.
It's after 6 after Vendetta. Before Resident Evil 7. It takes place in like 2015.
And she's been rocking that style, that like post Resident Evil 3 look since 1999 or 1998.
Or she went back to that. Like I'm going back to classic Jill after I got watched by Wesker. Oh, and I'm also glad I watched Vendetta first because Vendetta like leads right into Death Island. There's like a character from Vendetta like one of the villains like is like carries over into Death Island, so it definitely if you haven't seen Vendetta, I would watch that before you watch Death Island because you're gonna be like if the character's gonna show up and you're gonna be like who is this person? Like I
give the movie credit. At least each movie is a linear story. It's not like one's a prequel or some other BS.
That's definitely the best part of like the animated series is it's like it's in the canon of the game, so they reference the games, and it's like the events of the games that happen in this universe. But they also like reference like things that have happened in the previous like movies, in like the sequel movies. So like, they'll reference like the airport attack in Degeneration in like Vendetta or this one, or like something else that happened in like another movie in this one. But yeah, Vendetta, like it is a direct sequel to Vendetta. So like, if you ever see Vendetta, it definitely you need to watch that, because it's just characters they're gonna reference things, and like characters are gonna show up, and you're like, who is this person? What are they doing? Like,
So this is not a good entry point. I imagine for some people who haven't seen a lot of these Resident Evil movies, because of the all-star like cast of characters, they'll see this, but without any reference, it's just like what you're just dropped right into this.
I mean, I guess you could jump in this one, but yeah, that one character that shows up is gonna be like, you're gonna be like, I don't understand anything. There's no introduction. There's no like information. They're dressed very bizarrely. So it's just like, if you don't have any context for like what's going on, that's definitely like the most jarring part. But the actual main villain is actually, it's interesting because it's like ties all the way back to like the first Resident Evil, like Raccoon City.
Really?
He's like a ex Umbrella like soldier that was like caught up in like the Raccoon City stuff, and then got bitter, and then now he's like, well, I hate Umbrella, but I'm gonna make sure like nothing like that happens again by like unleashing this new virus. And it's like a mix of like a nanovirus and like a T virus. So it's like this like bioorganic virus, or like techno-organic virus.
So they're not true zombies? They're more like cybernetic things?
Well, they don't become robots, but like the way like the virus is spread is like these little nanobots. So, and it has like this new string in the T virus that like basically turns you like instantly into a zombie.
Gotcha.
And then the whole gang kind of like comes at it from like different like directions, but they all end up on Alcatraz together, and so they all team up, and it's a big fun team up with the whole gang. There's the end battle is great because it's like they're all fighting this like new giant monster together. So it's basically it lives up to like the Avengers of like the Resident Evil universe. Like all your faves are here. They're all team up together.
Yeah,
like,
so it pays off of a big sequence.
Yeah. If you're going in and you want to see like everyone team up, you definitely get a lot of that. You get fun pairings, you get different pairings you haven't seen before, and then they all team up at the end. The animation's great. Lots of fun action. So yeah, definitely. If you've seen all the rest of them and you haven't seen Death Island yet, definitely check it out. And yeah, and Resident Evil fan, it's a must watch, just because like it's if you're a fan, like it's.
This could have been a game, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And Alcatraz is also a fun setting. Like Vendetta had New York City as a setting, and this one's like Alcatraz. So you get a little bit like the Rock feel a little bit, because like they're in like like the old prison like cell blocks and under the prison, and there's like a giant shark circling the waters of San Francisco Bay. So so that's pretty much what I've been watching this week. So we can wrap things up. Definitely head over to the site. We've got all sorts of we got news, reviews, trailers. You can still check out our commentary from last month, which was The Rocketeer. You can watch that classic along with us, and we'll have a new one coming up in a week or two on the site for August. And we also have like our Gamebox 2.0 went up last week too. You can check out what games we played for July, and we'll have some more game reviews coming up this month too. And all the regular features and news that show up every day are up there. Head over to check all that stuff out. And for Chris, I am Zach, and we will see you next week. For more Everything Action, head to www.everythingaction.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @EVAction, on Facebook by searching for Everything Action, and follow us on Instagram @everything.action. You can also subscribe and get more episodes on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.